context of an infinite universe, infinite possibility. If we take that as a truth, it means that even if one does not see as we see, for example, let's say we see a oneness, we realize that our enemy is or what are thought of as enemies or opposition are simply, again, projections of something else, something within us. If there's a oneness, there isn't a superior, there isn't an inferior. But there's a desirable and undesirable. Yeah. Well, you could say there's a harmonious and there's a discordant.
Right.
Exactly. Right. You know, take all the judgment out. It's still it's synchronous.
Does it resonate or not?
That's exactly right.
And how do we determine that resonation? What do we have? Forget all the science and the exterior tools and devices and machines and things that we have to monitor and probe and all of the things that we can do from within as good or better. We just don't realize it yet. So, and so recognizing that, then what do we have inside? What kind of senses do we have, or do we already have them? You know, we have 5 senses and 10% of our brain. Well, could we have 45 more senses with the other 90% of our brain?
Yep.
That's a simple ratio.
Well, to me, it's a slam dunk answer. Yes,
right.
It's true.
Okay. So, and those 5 senses may be with those 9 bodies, and that, you know, divvying it up as 10% each. So, it's funny how things correlate. Potentially, anyway. Even just the possibility makes you think, interesting. So, as those things, as that sensory device that we call our body evolves, we can begin to understand what's going on around us at a more intricate level. For instance, here's the matter of choice. We feel a sensation in our gut. It kind of quivers. Have 2 people doing that, okay? One over here interprets it as anxiety and reacts from a place of I'm going to lose something, or something's going to happen, or, you know, somewhat of a fearful position. On the other hand, you have someone over here that chooses to feel it as a quickening. And they recognize that that sensation means that they ought to be in a place of anticipation of something really cool happening, because that's what happens when that happens. Same thing with the anxious person over here. They draw, because of their anxiety, they draw whatever it is that they're afraid of, because that's where their thought is. Their attention is on that. The person over here that's on the quickening, that's on the anticipation, is much more in a place of joy, because they're anticipating something really cool going to happen. They don't know what, but they know it's going to happen. So there's 2 sides of that same sensation that they feel in their body. So if those exist, and there's at least 2 ways of interpreting that sensation, what else is possible?
Well, the idea of an infinite possibility means that neither have to be wrong, both can be right. Both are creative.
Oh yeah, they're both right here. You've got the one with the anxiety, and you've got one as the quickening. Okay? Those are valid, truthful, honest experiences that each one of those people are having. It's a matter of choice as to which experience you, or others, the global you, want to have.
The interesting thing is, in this cosmology, as we are beginning to become, I don't say aware of, I think we're coming to a place where we are acknowledging that there are more. I mean, people are seeing sightings of craft frankly, the reportings are happening every day. They're showing up in more places. They're capturing them on tape. And yet we, you got people who are interpreting them in different ways. Some are interpreting them with great anticipation. Some of them are who are in fear, are seeing this as a sign of something, terrible happening, especially greased along with many of our programs on.
You got a butt pucker and enema. It's your choice.
Well, yeah. So we've got a lot of movies and other things.
That's a little more graphic than we need to get.
Sure. But we've got movies and other things that help grease people along the path of thinking that this is something sinister. Now, the point basically is that everyone with free will has the ability to see and be who they are, see things as they see it. And I think that the key awareness that's surfacing in this day and time is that the creative power, that we are the creative power, and therefore if a person is seeing this as something to be feared and their worst fears showing up, manifesting, they are free to create it. It does not mean that that is the only thing that will be created.
Right.
So the people who are seeing this as something to look for, they are creating it. We have the power.
At least in the movies. Now, let me take that to the next level, because there's a critical piece that's left out of that. Conversation. Hey, I'm feeling this way. What about you? I see this happening. I'm feeling this way about it. I'm not sure if it's right. What do you think?
Well, if that comes up for people, hallelujah. You see?
Absolutely. And it's that relationship on the ocean of emotion that we submerge because we're afraid to open our mouths to talk for fear of rejection. Now, I know how that feels. When I got out of the hospital, they had me on Thorazine while I was in there, 2,000 milligrams a day. So it was 4 doses in liquid form. I should have been a lump in a corner based on their diagnosis. I was up playing ping pong, beating the male nurses. Okay, so it basically had no effect on me. What it did have is that it destroyed my self-confidence. And so when I got out of the hospital, I literally shook so bad inside that my physical body trembled. Do you know how embarrassing that is? And how debilitating that fear of being rejected by anyone. It could have my parents, my sister, a girlfriend, a high school best friend. Didn't matter. There was that place inside of me that wanted to talk to others and that was afraid to because of what I'd just gone through. Now, I knew I was different. I mean, shoot, I'd done a trampoline act for a halftime show for a high school basketball game in front of 5,000 people. And I was a diver. I was a lifeguard during high school, so I loved to show off. Okay? That was a ham. However, after I went through this, man, I was empty. There was nothing there, and I was afraid of sharing what was going on inside of me. Now, obviously, I've overcome that. Okay? It's taken me 40 years.
And not a moment too soon.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I'm on time. As a drummer, I've usually had impeccable timing. So maybe I can move that and segue it over into my personal life, too. I hope that's so. I know our meeting, and how that came about was very synchronistic and well-timed and beyond us, and with the help of a wonderful woman named Cynthia Crawford. So in our movement together as a population, as understanding that yes, there's this Galactic Federation that we may not understand, or that spans many worlds and has hundreds of members and species within it that are incarnate here as human beings, that have this internal understanding that they're here to help shift this consciousness and this thoughtmosphere to a new living awareness that over the next 25 years will completely change how we're living on this planet. And we've seen, as we hear
I'm trying to see if I can see if it's a black helicopter or not. It's certainly a helicopter.
Well, there is a helicopter manufacturing facility not too far from here. So
well, that would probably account for there being a helicopter nearby.
Yeah, and if they are watching, then good on them.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's all good. So as we evolve on a planetary scale, there's going to be more things come forth. I know just from coming out as I have in the, if you can call it that, over the last few years, there's been others who, all over the globe, who have approached me and recognized that they have something going on with them too, and they're wondering what to do with it, how to do with it. There's a lot of talk. The internet, oh my, there's so much going on there, and to have some discernment with it too. But the conversations are all over the place, and what I hope to see are other individuals who step up and say and redirect those conversations back into, okay, we can't change the world until we get ourselves in tune first. Because the minute you try to push something, you're going to have a resistance. And if you change, it's infectious. Others see it. They want to know what's going on. All of a sudden, you walk into some place that's normally, this gloomy atmosphere, and you walk in and you're beaming and you're having fun and you're engaging people. Do you think that's going to change the energy of that atmosphere?
I know it will, sure.
So we have the capacity to do that. And I think it's necessary, imperative, that we step out of our own fears and begin asking those questions of, who am I really? What am I here to do? How can I engage others from that place within me that I know is there, that finds that place in them that's there too?
Well, I think that is, I'm in fact in full agreement with that. If, in a nutshell, what would Zendor like to say to the public as a thought, as a parting thought, or an opening thought, as the case may be?
Well, those questions are most sufficient, I think. Question reality, question your understanding, challenge your beliefs, look for what makes sense, not what's common. So find what makes sense common for you and others that brings you all together and allows you to work together better. It's all going to evolve and change, and be aware of that. Change doesn't happen overnight. There are some things. I have a blog, bethedream.info. I've taken the principles of the creation wheel and put it into a little more finite structure from a more practical standpoint with planetarycitizens.net. I have a website that's also sonofashtar.com that I tell more about my story. I have a coaching site, Be the Dream-Life Coach, or you can even put in BeTheDream.com and it'll redirect. I have a partnering website called TeamPartnering.com, and I have a model community/educational village called SpectrumAcademy.org that I wrote as a business plan after teaching and going into my Master's for Organizational Management, that offers a new environment that could potentially be that foundation for the educational reformation that we need. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of possibilities, and I'm a futurist thinker. I can't help but be that way, because when I was first brought into the there's the two eagles today now that Cynthia had mentioned yesterday. That one was flying around. There's a couple of them flying in a circle. To be able to get out of your own way. I know there was another thought that I was going off, and then I got sidetracked by the eagles. To recognize that we have this capacity, and to begin to reach out to others and find a way to get beyond the discord. You know, we've got several nations and people that are reflecting what's going on in those nations and the conflict that's happening, and the disempowerment, the inhumane treatment and justice systems that are there. And these are all things that we can and will change, and I believe it's going to happen in the next 25 years. Now there's a group out there that thinks we're going to be evacuated. Can't speak to that. What I can speak to is that my past life, that the last time I was here was 26,000 years ago, when this land became a seabed. And there was an evacuation there. I was in charge of it, or at least for this area. I don't know about the rest of the planet. So that's possible. But like they've demonstrated already when they shut off the missile silos in the 60s, okay, they will keep us from destroying ourselves, but we've got to work out the details.
Good enough. Well, where can one find Zendor the Barbarian?
Visiting a theater near you. Hi, I'm Zendor, and yes, you have been expecting me. Yeah. Actually, it's on Amazon. You can find it on CreateSpace. I have a better profit on CreateSpace than I do Amazon. You can find it on the websites. Okay. And if you just Google Zendor the Barbarian, you'll find it.
All right. Zen Benefiel. Zendor Benefiel.
Yeah, my friends call me Zen. I'm most Zen. Comfortable with that.
Zen, thank you for your time, for your vision, for your passion, and for the light that you bring. And let there be more.
I'm just a reflection, Adam. And thank you for being such a bright one.
Thank you very much.
Namaste.
Namaste.